Welcome to History Students Watching. Today we're going to start by taking a look at some states in the western part of the United States. We're going to look at these states here. We have 11 states that make up the western region that we're going to go over. The first one right here is Washington. Washington State produces the most apples in the United States. Underneath Washington, we have Oregon. Oregon became a state on Valentine's Day in 1859. Here we have the state of California. California's Death Valley is the hottest place in the United States. During the summer, the temperature can reach over 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Then we have here Idaho. Idaho grows more potatoes than any other state, a state I'm definitely thankful for. Nevada. So we have our next state, Nevada, here. It is the largest gold-producing state in the United States. This state right here is the state of Montana. Montana, Wyoming, Salt Lake City. Then we have here the state of Hawaii. Hawaii is a group of islands. States, we have just moved them closer so we can see them. Washington. Yes, an autobiography. When we were thinking about Booker T. Washington and where he started his life, what was the reason that he enjoyed Sundays so well? Students watching. Dev?
Because he had his favorite kind of food.
Yes, which was? Do you remember? Arthur.
Molasses.
Yes, molasses, exactly correct. Once the Civil War ended and the Southern slaves were able to gain their independence from that winning of the Civil War, where did Booker and his family move? Carson?
Malden, West Virginia.
Yes, Malden, West Virginia. And it's here where our story picks up. We're going to find out that now that these slaves have their freedom, they are ready to work. They're excited to be able to work, to be able to keep what they earn, to be able to make money. So Booker, and his family, they began to work in a salt mine where they would gather the salt and they would put it in these. Aiden?
Yeah.
Yes, and so the salt would be sold by barrels. Well, each family would have a number that they would write on the barrel so that the families and the people who bought the salt would know who the money belonged to and who was the one who put the salt in the barrel. Their family's number was 18, and that was his first experience with arithmetic. He wasn't familiar with numbers, he wasn't familiar with letters and reading, but he was excited to be able to help his family earn money, and they were putting those salts in barrels and selling them. Their family's number was the number 18. Once he grew older, he became very interested in learning how to read. So he wanted to get a book. And finally, he was able to get his very first book. But the problem was, as he looked at his book, he didn't know what it meant, and he couldn't figure out the words, and he needed someone to help teach him. So this man came to their town and started schools to help him learn, and others as well. Jacob?
William Davis.
Yes, William Davis became his teacher. Well, on his first day of school, he was very excited. He was so excited with his school experience that he wanted to continue to learn. So eventually, he worked his way to be able to attend this school. Read it for us, Jimmy.
Hampton, Normal, and Argid.
Very close. Short A.
Algid.
Grit.
Algrid.
Short U. Cultural
Institute.
Yeah, so Agriculture Institute. It was at this school that freed slaves could be able to learn how to be teachers or find another profession and be able to earn a trade where they could do well in. So Booker T. Washington decides this is where he wants to attend, and he's ready to put in the effort to be a great student. Let's pick up our story on page 313. Page 313, Early to Work. Begin, Presley.
Early to work. Booker's family worked together in Malden to earn money for the things they needed. Booker and John worked with their stepfather in the salt mines. Work at the salt mines began at 4 o'clock in the morning. Each salt packer had its own number that went on barrels. Because they were from the same family.
All right, you skipped some words. So because they went on barrels of.
Because they were from the same family.
No, let's go back and start at the beginning of that paragraph. Work at the salt mines.
Work at the salt mines began at 4 in the morning.
You
4
skipped some
o'clock in the morning. Each salt packer had its own number that went on the barrels of the salt he packed. Washington's for Gushen's number was 18. Because they were from the same family, Booker and John had the same number.
Yes, watch your words carefully for speed and accuracy. Caden.
Booker, you've got to remember that number. Don't forget it. Mr. Ferguson told him. Even though he could not read, he had learned to recognize his number. He had filled those barrels himself. He would be paid for them. Booker carefully looked at the number. He shut his eyes and repeated 18. He tried to write the number 18. This was the first education in arithmetic that Booker ever had. He knew nothing about the other numbers. He could not count, but he recognized the number on the sides of barrels.
Good accuracy, rest your books. Why did Booker and his brother John need to work in the salt mines with their stepfather? Students watching. And Carson.
So they could earn money.
Yes, and they had to get up very early, 4 o'clock. Imagine getting up for school at 4 o'clock in the morning and heading to school, and that was the work that you had to do all day long, but that was the work that he and his family did so that they could earn the money they needed to for the things they needed. Why was it important for Booker to remember the number 18? What did that have to do with? Dev?
Because he had to put the number 18 on the barrels.
Exactly, so they would count for the money that his family could receive for selling those barrels of salt. Let's find out what Booker Washington's first book is. Continue reading for us. Cadence, A Wish for a Book.
A wish for a book. One night at home, Booker wished out loud, if only I could read. I wish I had a book. His mother heard Booker's wish. How could she get her son a book? There was not enough money to buy one. One special night, his mother had an extra big smile for Booker when he came home from work. She gave him an old, used copy of Noah Webster's Blueback Speller. He never knew how or where she got it. He only knew that now he had his very own book. It was the first book he had ever held in his hands.
Good accuracy. What special gift from his mother was his very first book? Asa?
Noah Webster's Blueback Speller.
Yes, so imagine your very first book that you were able to have would be your spelling book. Would you be very excited about that? Where Booker was, he was excited to receive this book he wanted to learn. Let's find out more about how he's able to learn through his teacher, William Davis coming to this area. Continue reading for us, Emily. A Wish to Read.
A wish to read. Who would teach Booker how to read? At that time, there were no schools for freed slaves. Since he had no one to teach him, he tried to teach himself. Every night he studied his book. He learned to recognize some of the letters. Then it happened. A young teacher named William Davis came to Malden. There was excitement in every family. Young children wanted to go to school. Old people wanted to learn to read the Bible for themselves. Hardly anyone was too young for school, and no one was too old. Booker could not go to school during the day because he had to work. He was glad when Mr. Davis started a school in the evenings.
Very good volume. Let's pause. What exciting thing happened in Malden that made him even more excited about being able to learn? Caden?
A teacher came.
Right, exactly. And that teacher would help him be able to learn. He even had a school in the evening time where he would be able to learn. Now, Mr. Davis's grandfather's home was a stop on the Underground Railroad. When Mr. Davis first began teaching, he used his own bedroom as a classroom. One time, he even took apart his bed to make room for several wooden benches where the students could sit so they could learn. So he was very giving, and he was very interested in helping these students, his students, learn. Now, why was no one too old for school? Aiden?
Because nobody was knowing how to read.
Even if they were old, some of them still wanted to read. So nobody was too old if they hadn't learned. They still had this chance and this still opportunity to come to school to learn to read. Now, as he continues to learn to read as he continues to show interest in school, he ends up being able to attend on his very first day. He's very excited. Think about your very first day of school. What was something that you were most excited about on your very first day of school? Emily? Meeting the other children or the other students in your class. That would be very excited. Maybe some of you were a little nervous, maybe a little scared about all of the work and things you would learn. Let's find out what happens on Booker's first day of school. Continue reading for us, Anna.
It was Booker's first day to go to school. He was nervous. Mr. Davis began calling roll. Slaves had not been given last names when they were born. Other children's parents had already chosen last names for their families, but Booker's family had not. He knew his teacher would expect him to give his last name. So, how he wished he had been born with a last name. Booker? Mr. Davis was asking. Booker Washington, he said, as if he had been called Booker Washington from the day he was born.
Good accuracy, good speed. So let's pause. What did he have to choose to do on his very first day of school, Adriana?
He made his own last name.
Yes, he had to come up with his own last name since he and his family did not have one yet. What name did he choose, Asa?
Booker Washington.
Washington, exactly correct. So this is his name, Booker Washington. Now, he notices something about his teachers as he continues to learn, and he comes across many teachers who want to give to their students and help their students learn. He notices something about them. Let's find out what it is. Continue reading for us, Carly.
Those that are happiest. The years passed. One day, Booker heard of a school for black young people in Virginia. Poor students could work at the school to pay for their education. The students not only learned to be teachers, many of them also learned a trade such as carpentry, farming, or brickmaking. The school's name was the Hampton Normal and
Short A. Short I, short U.
Cultural Institute.
Yes, good expression, Josh.
Booker decided to leave home for Hampton. Hampton Institute was 500 miles away. Booker had only enough money to ride halfway to the school on a train. He rode a stagecoach or walked the rest of the 200 miles and 250 miles.
Yes, way to work for accuracy, Carson.
15-year-old Booker arrived at Hampton worn, tired, ragged, and late. The school year had already started, but the teacher gave him a chance. She asked him to clean a room. Booker worked hard to make the room spotless. He showed his teacher that he was not afraid of hard work. When she saw the perfectly clean room, she knew that Booker would be a good student.
Good accuracy. Pause. What would Booker learn at Hampton Institute in Virginia? Students watching. And Jackson. What did he want to learn?
How to read.
How to read, and he also wanted to learn a trait, something that would help him to be useful, or something that would be very helpful and very useful. And he also wanted to learn how to teach. What was Booker's test in order to become a student? Morgan?
To show his teacher that he can clean his room.
Yes, so he had to work hard to clean a room. If that were your test, would you have passed? Would you have been able to go into the school and learn more? or would you have failed? How clean can you make your room? How neat can you keep the things? Booker was willing to put in all the hard work that he needed to in order to become a very good student. He was willing to leave his family. He was willing to walk all of these miles. He was willing to work hard to learn. Do you work hard to learn? Do you make wise use of the money that your parents have invested? Your grandparents, your aunt and uncle, those who love you, have invested a lot of money for you to be able to learn. Are you making good use of that? Are you making good use of your time? You've been given a lot of time to be able to learn. Are you working hard, making good use of that time that you've been given? Booker was willing to work hard to learn all that he could. Continue reading for us, Asa.
As Booker began school, he was not the only one who worked hard. His teacher did too. As Booker watched them, he noticed how happy they were to help their students. Those that are happiest are those who do the most for others, he thought.
Pause. Let's take a look at the picture. You can see a carpentry class at Hampton Institute where the students would have been able to use the wood or make things out of wood, and that was a very useful skill, a very useful trade. What did Booker Washington notice about his teachers? Students watching? Madison.
She worked hard.
Yes, they worked hard and they were happy. He noticed that the happiest people were those who work hard and do the most for others. What a good lesson for us to remember. When we decide we're going to work hard and serve others and help others, that in return makes us happy as well. Let's take a look at our comprehension checkup box together. Take out a pencil. Let's look at multiple choice, writing the letter of the correct answer in the blank. Number 1, what was the first book Booker ever held in his hands? Asa.
Noah Webster's Blueback Speller.
It was letter A, Noah Webster's Blueback Speller. Number 2, what was the name of Booker's first teacher? Lexi?
William Davis.
Yes, letter A, William Davis. And number 3, Booker T. Washington traveled 500 miles to attend what school? Dev?
Hampton Institute.
Hampton Institute is correct. Well done. Close your book, leave it to the side, pencils down and resting. Let's have our girls, you may come and line up, and our boys, you may come and line up. Scorekeepers, let's have Adriana for the girls and Asa for the boys team. We're going to play a couple rounds of Steal the Bacon to see how many points we can get for our girls team and for our boys team. So first two may come. Jimmy and Cadence, be ready to reach for that beanbag on the word go. So wait for the word go. Tell me the town which asked Booker to begin a school, the school in Virginia which Booker attended. Go. Jimmy.
Hilton.
Yes, you're very close. It does start with an H. Let's think of the exact word. It would be Hampton Institute. So both of you say that.
Hampton Institute.
And we'll do another question. Booker and his brother worked with their dad in the, go, Cadence.
Salt miners.
Salt mines, and they were salt miners. Those would be the people, but the place they worked was the salt mine. So girls get that first point. Next two may come. What was the name of Booker's first teacher? Go, Jackson. And
Davis.
you're very close. Anna?
William Davis.
William Davis. Girls have that. Next two. The town where Booker's family lived after the Civil War. Go. Aiden? Students watching? It was Malden, West Virginia. No points here. Next two. Reviewing several questions from our previous chapters. What do we call a person who designs and builds structures? Go. Emily? No. Caitlin?
Engineer.
Engineer. First answer for the boys. Next two. Tell me the woman who helped her husband supervise the building of the Brooklyn Bridge. Go. Presley.
Emily.
And Carly?
Emily Robert.
Emily Roebling. Girls have it. Next two. What bridge did Emily oversee being built? Go. Carson.
Brooklyn Bridge.
It was the Brooklyn Bridge. Boys have it. Next two. Who invented the Morse code? Go. Deb.
Samuel Morse.
Yes, boys, next two. Tell me Thomas Edison's laboratory home and boarding school, what was that called? Go. Gage? No. Students watching? Tyra? No. It was Menlo Park. No points here. Next two. What was the first thing recorded on the phonograph? Go. Arthur.
Here you have Little Brown.
Boys have it. Next two. What invention is Thomas best known for? He helped improve it. Go. Jacob.
Light bulb.
The light bulb. Boys have it. Next two. Who was the famous teacher of the deaf and inventor of the telephone? Go. Josh. Cadence?
Thomas Edison.
No. Students watching? It was Alexander Graham Bell. No points here. Next two. Last question. Tell me one other invention of Bell besides the telephone. Go. Jimmy.
Battery.
Yes, exactly correct. Well done. How many points for our girls, Adriana?
3.
And girls, you may return to your seat. How many points for the boys, Asa?
6.
6. Boys, you may return to your seat. So it looks like the boys are our winners. Boys, you may give yourself a pat on the back. Students watching, how many questions were you able to get correct? I like how you're remembering the things we've learned from our previous chapters. Continue to review those terms along with the states we learned today so that you'll be ready for our next lesson. For home